What's the good word? It's Barack Little here, strength coach, personal trainer, instructor of personal trainers at Show Up Fitness, but most importantly, I'm here to help you pass the CSCS exam as quickly as possible. Make sure you sign up, click the link below to sign up for our CSCS exam prep course. In it, we have a study guide that has over 200 questions and a lot of flashcard notes for each chapter. But also we have 2 live calls per week that come with the course, and we answer any questions you have as well as going into detail on some of those subject matters. There was one we went over in our last call that I thought would be really relevant to the exam, which is why I wanted to share it with you all. And it's validity versus reliability. It's a common topic. It has to do with testing protocols and procedures. And they're similar, yes, but there are some differences, and it's important to be able to distinguish those differences on the exam. And so, check the rest of the video out. If you have any questions, please reach out. And again, don't forget to sign up for our CSCS exam prep course ASAP.
But yeah, I just wanted to go. We kind of talked about it on last Monday's call, but I recommend, obviously, like I would read through these chapters at least once or twice, but more than anything, I really recommend going to the back of chapter 13, page 295, and just literally going through all of the charts. So it's really like almost 20 pages. So about 295 to about 318. I would just like look at it. So for example, percentage body fat, you'll know what extremely lean looks like for the sport. So for example, very lean in basketball, racquetball, rowing, soccer would be 8 to 10. For men, 16 to 18 for women. Whereas like sports like gymnastics, bodybuilding, wrestling will be even lower. And then again, so American football, for example, knowing that if they mention a question about alignment, we know those are actual bigger athletes. So they're going to have the highest. So them and like shot put are the only 2 sports where you'll be seeing people in the 20% body fat range. So again, if they're asking if they ask one of the case study type questions we ask about a football lineman, and they mention that he has 22% body fat, it's important to make sure you know that it's okay. So whereas if they were asking that about a basketball player, the correct answer might be improved body fat percentage. But if they're asking about a football lineman, that would not be what you want to work on. So make sure you're looking at these charts. So you know the sport. So for example, 40-meter test is a common one of speed. Again, looking at some of these, like for most sports, as long as they're in the 5s, they're fine. But if you got into football, for example, you'd want to be in the 4s for most. Again, you can like looking at this. For example, the 90th percentile for American football is 4.21 seconds for that 40-meter sprint. Yeah, they got the yo-yo intermittent test. They got all of these. So I always recommend for the sports you don't know. Like for me, I didn't know much about lacrosse, some of those sports when I took the exam. So I made sure to look at the back for the numbers, just so you don't miss them. And again, remembering the answers won't be close. Like they won't ask you something about which one is better, and one answer's in the 50th percentile, one's in the 55th. It will be clear cut, usually above 50th percentile or below that, and that's going to be the answer, whether it's good or bad. So going back into the notes, so validity and reliability, I know y'all probably talked about it some Thursday. Well, I'll just do a review because I've noted, just in my experience with preparing people for this and just in general, validity and reliability can be tough for some people. So I'll pick on you, Danielle. Can you tell me kind of what is validity, or even over more so, tell me the difference, or tell me what the difference in validity and reliability is.
So validity is essentially if it's actually testing accurately what we are hoping that it's going to test. And then reliability would just be essentially like the overall accuracy that the type of test that we're administering is consistent. Yep,
exactly. Yep, that's the word I was looking for. It's good. So yep, validity is yes. I mean, you think if we say something is valid, it is what it's supposed to, like. What is it measuring? What it's supposed to measure. So again, a test could be, for example, reliable. Again, reliability is more consistency. So let's say, for example, like a test could be consistent, but not reliable, but not valid. So for example, let's just talk about the 1 mile test for football players, for example. The test is going to be consistent. You're going to probably get the same results over and over as far as, or similar numbers speed wise, but is that going to measure someone's power output or force on the football field? No. So that probably isn't the most valid test for a sport like football. So your validity measuring what it's supposed to, whereas reliability is that consistency. So again, so a valid test might not be reliable if you try to do that test multiple times in a day, and that sport needs more rest time. So for example, like doing multiple powerlifting maxes on the same day might mess up the reliability of the results, because the fatigue might kick in. But even though we know those tests are measuring what they're supposed to. So validity, is it measuring what it's supposed to? Reliability, is it consistent? Am I going to pretty much get the same scores or numbers every single time, granted no other outward factors? And then you have a bunch of different types of validity. So construct validity kind of goes hand in hand with validity. So usually they won't ask about construct validity, but just know that construct validity is the most basic, or just the foundation of it. Is it measuring what it's supposed to? So face validity gets a little bit different. Face validity is perception. Does the athlete or person being tested think that it's an accurate test? So, for example, think about like blind or double blind studies. That's kind of where face validity comes in at. So I might be testing athletes. So I might tell athletes like, hey, first one to finish this 300-meter test, gets a free meal or something. They might think that they're being tested on a 300-meter race, but my real purpose of this is to see people's mentality change, how people's mentality changes, or if their performance change with the goal attached to it, or with the prize attached to it. So if I'm doing that, and I'm really looking at to see if their performance changes when I offer the free dinner, the face validity of it though is that they think they're doing a 300-meter test or being tested on that. So just remember, it doesn't always have to a test can be valid face validity wise, and it's not actually measuring what the people think it is. Then you got content validity, again, consisting with what they're supposed to correctly analyze the performance. So construct is kind of the base level. Content means like, is it actually measuring what matters for this sport? And then criterion reference validity is just going to be measured against like other tests. So you got concurrent. How well does it compare to similar established tests? So if I'm doing body fat tests, for example, and I'm trying to do a new type, I need to see how it measures up against DEXA scan, against skin fold calendars, already established tests. Then convergent would be how does it compare to the gold standard? So it's pretty much the same as concurrent, but specifically whatever's been established as that gold standard. So for example, like upper body strength in powerlifting is usually, bench press is usually the main. So if you're doing a new strength test for upper body, how well does it compare to the bench press, for example, whatever the gold standard is? This one is important because the gold standard might not always be easy to get. So for example, like body fat testing. We don't all have access to a DEXA scan in our gyms. So we do other tests that have good convergent validity to that, skin fold calipers, in bodies, et cetera, that might not be as reliable, but they have enough convergent validity to matter. Predictive validity obviously can help predict future performance and stats. So again, as a coach, as a strength and conditioning coach, we really want good predictive validity tests because if what we're testing isn't predictive of good performance, then we need to change our testing. And then discriminate validity is a way to just kind of like save time and resources. So don't do two tests that don't clearly test different things. So if I were doing let's say if I was doing a running broad jump versus standing, probably don't need both of those because one is they're pretty similar. So that would be good discriminant validity is not having multiple tests that measure the same thing. So those are going to be all the types of validity you would get asked about on the exam. And then like reliability is again the consistency. And so we know if a test has been established and it's a good test, then usually we know the lack of reliability is going to be due to either the tester or the coach or the person being tested. So that's usually where the reliability issues come from. Because a good reliable test, the short results should be the same every time if the athlete performed the same. So we got intra-subject variability. That is going to be the athlete performing inconsistently. So intra, think within. Inter-rater reliability is going to be objectivity. So again, that's you don't want a lot of this. You have to adequately make sure you're coaching and you're training administrators the right way, because again, I remember it even, I think like high school football, when we run our 40-yard dashes, we might have two coaches with completely different scores. So that means that whoever taught them how to got time did not make sure they were doing the same thing, measuring takeoff and finish at the same time. So you got intra-subject within the athlete, inter-rater reliability, then intra-rater reliability. Think of that one as just like bias. So if I got an athlete I'm trying to impress the recruiters with, I might have the quicker hand on the stopwatch than I would for somebody I might not like as much. So again, this is why testing and training is important. But that's intra-rater reliability. Knowing the figure chart 12-1, the humidity percentages. I feel like I remember having a question about humidity